Hey, everybody. Um, so I'm Thomas Pope. As you can see, that's all right. Y'all keep talking if you want. I do this all day. It doesn't bother me. As you can see, few AV issues, but we're going to work through it as we go. My talk today is about securing buildings and how it's really forgotten about when we talk about attack surface and what's part of your portfolio. It's been a real struggle doing what I do, trying to get everyone to understand these things. Let me see. This is going to get painful every time I got to switch slides, I think. I did, and it just moved it, but so I'm the head of property cybersecurity for my company. I self-funded myself today, so they don't get the credit. I do. Um, I've worked at Cisco doing incident response, Duke Energy, Dragos, always with control systems, even if it's an accident, because they're like, oh, you do that? Guess what you're going to do now? I was like, okay, thanks. So that's pretty much every stop. So I've worked with power, oil and gas, water manufacturing, and now we're to buildings. So as we talk about this, these are rhetorical things. You're happy to yell out things. You're not going to faze me. I played lots of sports where people were yelling at me all day. But we think about control systems, right? We say, power requires this to work. Oil and gas requires this to work. But when you look at a totality of what it takes to run a building, it's several systems working in concert. And these can be even on their own. A lot of these are standalone, and they're adding more IoT and things like that. So when we start looking at what makes up a building, you have your building management or building automation system. You have your lighting systems. You have the shades. If you're in a sustainable building, that they follow the sun and they track those things. You have the fire life and safety. So all the sprinklers you see overhead are all tied back to a console that's centrally located. You have your elevators, escalators, access control systems, which you all love to hack, I've come to find out. Um, Hey, it's fun, right? It gives me something to do. Now I can say, go fix this. So you guys keep me employed, so I'm very happy about that. And then when you talk about sustainability, everyone's really pushing to monitor their energy use, their water use, their use of just resources in general. So we're going to talk about some of those. It'll probably get a laugh or two, but these are real things that companies are doing. When we talk about why I'm saying there are so many, you can see LEED certified buildings. These are the ones that are going to have almost all of these control systems plus more for the sustainability goals. So when you look at the sheer number, so I pulled data from CBEX and MEX, which is Commercial Building Energy Consumption Survey and Manufacturing Energy Consumption Survey. 15% of all buildings in 2018 had a BMS or a BAS. We expect that to be more like 25% now because this data is from 2018. And it's probably not going to get updated because you boo or cheer, however you want. The US government has cut the funding to the EIA, who creates this data. So the MEX is being updated now really slowly. The data is from 2022 and they roll it out monthly. The CBEX, there is no plan date to this point. So we have a real gap in our vision. And I can tell you from working with other asset companies, because we manage their buildings a lot of times, they have as much as 65, 70% of buildings with BMS and those accompanying systems. So depending on the portfolio, it's actually a massive amount because you can also have the bulk of buildings in the US that are commercial buildings are under 5,000 square feet, so they don't require these things. But as more automation comes in, that's a requirement. That they show what they're doing and be able to control it and actually not have somebody on site because we cost money and automation typically doesn't. So let's see, scroll down to the next one. Bear with me. So this is some of the more fun stuff that I get to work on. My company develops some of these. We put them in place for customers because there's tons of startups when it comes to IoT. Predictive maintenance is a big one. It saves hundreds of thousands of dollars per building if it's implemented correctly because you don't have to send an engineer to go look at the levels. You don't have to have people on site to do this work. You just say, what's the console say? Okay, it's right here. Same thing, something starts, typically it's a rattle or a vibration. and it's out of the set points that they have, and they say, you need to go look at this. And so they're able to fix what's there before it becomes an issue, where boilers give out, chillers give out, things like that. Air quality sensors are kind of a funny one, because when you introduce those, you're actually also maybe giving yourself liability because you know what the air quality is. And if you don't fix it, you just shot yourself in the foot with a big old compliance shotgun. And the lawyers are going to be like, oh, my guy has breathing problems, right? And you knew that the air quality in this building was bad and you didn't do anything about it. That's more of the, being a bad guy sort of thing. Bathroom cleaning is a fun one. I've actually had several big banks and office managers come to this because they don't want to just send crews at regular times. Oh, you do 1, 2, 3, 4 on this set schedule. Instead, if nobody's there, they don't send anybody. Or if that bathroom is getting blown up, they're going to send somebody early. They'll be like, holy crap, 100 people in an hour? Like, we need to go clean this bathroom ASAP. And then occupancy is another good one. So in offices, they'll have essentially these wired up low visibility cameras that all they can see is motion. And so they then statistically track that for the floor planning and say, what is here, who's using this space? And then they use it for their sustainability goals too, to say, we don't use this floor. Let's not heat it as much. Let's not cool it as much. We don't have to worry. People aren't there. Comfort cooling doesn't really exist. So all these systems are being tied in like this. Part of the problem is sometimes they don't talk to each other, and the other is they talk to each other too much. So if you just sit there, you can see all of this traffic. And it's not a good thing, right? Typically what I run into are a lot of flat networks, which I have some pictures for you later. So how big is this problem? Typically I use Shodan and Census more to prove a point. If I can see your problem from the outside, you probably got problems inside too. And in a lot of cases, the one that probably is going to give you all a lot of headaches, I would say through all my assessments that I've done on these buildings, maybe 30% have a firewall, just at the base level. They don't have AV, EDR, SIM, they don't log anything, and they just hope for the best. And so when I'm calling these specific ones out, you all probably know BACnet and Modbus, but the Fox protocol was written by Tritium for the Niagara framework, and they probably have like a 25% share of all HVAC, like not necessarily building automation, but the heating and cooling. And then the one that everybody forgets about that I feel bad for KNX is they're an open standard that's mostly in Europe and the Middle East. It's so you aren't tied to, you have a full Johnson Controls stack, you have a full Honeywell stack, you can pick and choose. But running the numbers, Census couldn't even pick it up. And so I was getting unreliable data through that. And as you're gonna see later in another slide, that's a big problem because KNX has been targeted in the past. So, but I use this as an example with our buildings to say, hey, if I can see all this, I'm sure you have other problems. So when we talk about more of the, what are we seeing? Oh, well, I just project, but when we're talking about what we're seeing, there's a big increase in exploitation, and this also correlates to OT. It's not any different from the IT environment. So typically when you would say, oh, well, these are all cut off, you don't really need to patch them. As you can see, they're putting these IoT systems on these networks that have no controls and say, go forth and conquer. And a lot of you enterprising people can go find them if you want to. Please don't do bad things because then you give me a headache. But you're more than welcome to look because working with Armis as much as I do, because I couldn't give them credit here, they gave me a pre-production view on what their honeypots were picking up. And they had a sizable increase in their IoT honeypots. And these aren't just like the Mirai botnet sort of things. These are the ones that are, the specialty tools because Armis focuses a lot on IoT and OT. And so we're able to partner with them on a lot of this data. And then the one that I always like picking because people just trust the FBI implicitly for whatever reason, is you can't see it, but commercial facilities are the 6 most targeted from what they're compiling in their data. And these are a lot. They don't even tell you that these incidents happen, and I'll talk about some of these and how that occurs. So, like I said, picking on poor little KNX, there was malware that came out in 2021 that Lime Security was able to pick up because an attacker was setting the BCU key, which is, I know the acronym, but it's escaping me at the moment. But it's a security feature, and you're supposed to set the password, and then it'll, lock others out, make it harder to get admin access, to do controls, change set points, things like that. Nobody sets it. So this attacker went around setting them for everybody. And the lucky thing for everybody is the people at Limes are really smart, and the attackers were actually kind of lazy. They set the same password for every single one. They also did not ask for any ransom. So nobody knows why it occurred this way, but I know it happened to hundreds of buildings that people have told me, let alone all the ones where they don't tell you. Because when we talk about the third one, I have a funny story about that. So I actually worked on one recently where the building had a soft middle like candy, but they had a firewall in place. A rare occurrence, right? You all know the brand. I'm not going to out them here because that's not the right thing to do. But the firewall got exploited, and the guy got on the phone, the IT contractor, and Fortinet literally said, "Oh crap! Like, we're seeing this a lot. This is not new." And unfortunately, they said you need to essentially reformat your firewall, flash it, put on a new version. Guess what that did? Destroy all the evidence. So now they can go, oh, well, it wasn't really. So this guy's having to fight with the owner of the building that I put in a ticket. Like, they said it was their fault. And they come back and go, no, it's not our fault. What are you talking about? You flashed that on your own. I was like, no, you told me to do it. So these are the problems that these contractors have working on these buildings. But what ended up happening is they exfilled a good chunk of data. They encrypted every system that was there, except the ones that were joined by work group, because AD wasn't connecting to those. So those were safe. And it was, I think, well, if I tell you that, you'll figure it out. But it is a well-known ransomware gang that did it. Huh? Yeah, no, the ransomware gang. So it was pretty fun. So then we come down to the bottom one with the access control system. This is one I worked with Armis on. It's actually really interesting. So big customer, they kept having infections come up from their buildings. They could not figure it out for the life of them. They paid however hundreds of thousands of dollars for IR, for companies to come and clean. And it was coming because through their firewall, anything could go outwards. They only had restrictions coming in. And this is a big company that should know better. And so they were using AppleTalk because they weren't even looking at it. So that's how they were doing their C2. They exploited the access control system. But when I was talking about the connectivity between systems, the access control system was connected to the elevators. Their implants were in the elevators, and nobody would ever look at that. And so typically, what I run into is the opposite. Everybody rips everything out as soon as there's a problem and puts in new. So I have no evidence to look at or anything along that line. But if they had done that, they would have fixed their problem. So this is the one case where I was like, well, I guess you should have ripped all your stuff out. It's really not that bad. The controllers aren't that expensive. And these elevator companies are pretty responsive because they also say, you shouldn't connect us to anything pretty much. You should leave us by ourselves in our own little enclave. So the fact that they connect them in for more of that, interconnectivity, running everything through fire life and safety, all those things, came to bit them in the butt. And it's fine. We all learn our lessons. Hopefully other people can learn from them instead of, having to endure it yourself. Let's see. Oh, no. I was just so excited about buildings, had to bring it back.
We're excited too.
Oh, good. All right. So this came from an official government document. They said, this is what a building network looks like. And I literally started laughing. I have never seen one building look like this, not one. Now, probably the ones that do are the military facilities, are the ones where, like, if you get in here, we're gonna have to shoot you, sort of thing. Like, we're gonna come to your house and we're gonna, like, we're not gonna do the, knock, hey, how are you doing? It's just, they're gonna shoot through the door. So you see how all these systems, they're technically interconnected, but they're all firewalled off? No, nope, not one time. You might see a second firewall to essentially create a flat network for just the control systems. That's it. You're not seeing anything else. So that's why I have my next pretty picture that shows, oh, see, you're doing it again. Ah, there we go. This is what it actually looks like. Do you see a firewall in there? I've used this for almost 4 years. I created it one time. I don't have to do anything else. There's this little image right here. So this is part of the magic of PowerPoint that makes me want to shoot myself sometimes. Is right here. That's a firewall. Sometimes I find one, and then I just cover it up. When they don't have one, I just put a little thing over it, and I'm like, yeah, you don't have one. But otherwise, your network looks exactly the same. Sure. Well, no. All right, there we go. So essentially, it's flat. Everything connects together. When you talk about the management network, those are the people that work in the office that, hey, the toilet's overflowing. I'll get you somebody. Hey, it's too cold in our office. Oh, we'll send somebody to fix that. Those are those people. And a lot of times, guess what they do? They pull reports directly from the BMS. They have logins and can do those things. I said, that's a terrible idea. They said, well, it's like $5,000 for the vendor to create us a report. No, it's not. That's like 5 minutes of work. Do not let them do that. And so I end up getting in fights because it's like their brother Terry that, they're just trying to give him a job. And he has no business doing that. Like, dude, I'm so serious. Like, oh, that's my boy. That's my guy Mike. That's my guy Terry. And I'm like, no, you gotta stop. Like, you need a real company that has more than like 2 people. And they get kind of upset sometimes because it is their brother. So really, this is more for you all to go back to your companies and say, hey, what are we actually doing here? You can go talk to the engineers. They're all really smart people. They just have no idea about cybersecurity. All they care is that stuff works. Because number 1 for them is safety. Number 2 is that it has to be up and running. And if stuff goes down, they're going to get back to operational really quick, so they're going to destroy all your evidence. They're going to rip stuff out, and typically it's a maintenance provider. It's not, the actual HVAC guy or the programmer for the BMS. But you teach them, they'll teach you right back. They're awesome. The first thing that I always do is help them walk through, like, hey, who are all your vendors? Do you have them written down in one place? And they're like, no, that's a great idea. Let's do that. I'm like, do you know if an incident happens, who's going to help you? Maybe Terry. Like, he could probably help us. I'm like, dude, I've seen this guy. He ties his shoelaces together. He doesn't notice. Like, we can't do this. Like, we have to have a real plan. And if they have a portfolio, it's like we need to have a portfolio-wide strategy. But that's the second piece for the creative strategy. After you get to know Terry and the other people that work there, you say, okay, this is how things work. This is how it should go. You should maybe have somebody on retainer that has more than 1 or 2 people so that if there's incidents at multiple properties, you aren't left with your, I'll cut that analogy short. So you want to be prepared and you want to have a strategy and you want to build out, hey, year over year, how can we improve this? Maybe could we introduce firewall? Bro, that's a lot of money. It's really not, I promise. But their operating budgets are so thin that when they see, oh, we got to pay like $5,000 for this firewall and then somebody to monitor it and capture logs and all that, I'm like, yeah, that's the cost of doing business, right? Or you can just go down and have eggs smashed on your face in the news. Like, it's up to you. It's not going to be me because I told you to fix it. So you have to do all those things. And then really the last one, this is just for you all, right? Ask questions. You're going to be really surprised if you go back to your real estate people. They're going to look like deer in headlights when you start bringing these things up. And they're either going to really like you or really hate you, and there's no in between. That's why I try to use jokes so that maybe they'll like me. And I tell Terry he has a nice shirt, and it ends up working out. But then you have to start asking the other questions. Do we own this? Do we own this? Are we a renter? Is it a single source tenant? Like there's nobody else here, it's just us. Because then you have a lot more leverage on things. A lot of big companies do that. They say, well, we take up the whole office. You're actually going to do cybersecurity at your buildings. And here it is in a contract. And they go, damn it. Because it's a really big company and they're not going to throw their money away. Who manages it? It's typically a combination of IT provider, several OT providers, control systems providers, and they may not even have a contract. They're just there for break fix. So they need to call their boy, say, Mike, come fix this. I need a printer, or network's slow. You need to come fix it. And he's like, okay, well, I have 5 other buildings to do. I'll see you in a week. Like that's how things typically work. And then do you have cyber insurance? A lot of them actually don't get to the minimums they're trying to charge you now. If you just rip and replace, like, hey, I don't have to tell anybody. And then what's connected, and then treat it like you would a power plant or anything else. You need to have your assets all written down in one place. They say you can't defend what you don't know, and I'm like, well, it's better than like not defending anything, right? Like you at least assume if I put things in and maybe install stuff, at least I'm better than if I absolutely do nothing. And then do not assume. Do not assume someone is actually doing something. Do not assume that people are actively working to how to fix these things and to do it. Don't assume that all the buildings have the same vendors. They're all like snowflakes, and that's not an insult. It's honestly that they're all built differently. You can build them at the exact same time, but the integrators that put it together did it completely differently, because the one in Chicago is different from the one in New York, is different from the one in Dallas, and they were all different vendors as well. And then you get to the not having documentation. I would say probably about that same 70, 80% have zero documentation. Not a picture, not an asset list, nothing. And then make sure there's budget. There's typically not budget. So you need to push the business to say, we need money. And you have to do these things. It's the cost of doing business. That's happened with a lot of banks recently with their data centers. They're really pushing to have more cybersecurity that they didn't before. So, but I think I'm right up on time. The rest is like references and stuff, because I like to give people their due. So wherever those things are posted, you can come and look these up and read some more about it. But I was also telling non-public stories, so some of those you're not gonna find because the reporting just isn't there and they don't have to. So my contact information's on the bottom, but it won't let me scroll to it. So, but if y'all have any questions, I'll be around. You can find me in my Macho Man shirt. So, and my Mick Foley socks. I know those are hard to see. I'll come up front. So, thanks guys.